To me, coaching is all about what works, not what hasn't worked in the past. And I thought, this is backwards.
Amazing way to be vulnerable and transparent in a world that everyone's just sharing highlight reels, you know?
To me, showing up is showing up when you don't want to, sticking to your commitments. I had been sober for 14 years, and then in 2021, I thought, I don't think I really need to be sober. I don't think I have a problem with it.
It's a learned bad habit to feel like you have to be an achiever. All right, today I have a really amazing woman. Her name is Chris Janssen, and we actually met back, I think it was August or July, for the Brand Builders Group Accelerator event, which is amazing. And if you guys haven't heard yet, we love Brand Builders Group and everything that they provide for content creators and entrepreneurs. But Chris is a mom to 3 adult children, so she's made it past graduation. We want to be her one day when we grow up. But she's a top performing coach, counselor, and award-winning best-selling author. And she really focuses on helping high-achieving perfectionists navigate their performance pressure, overcoming self-sabotage, rewriting narratives, and attaching meaning to life and events and circumstances. And she's got a new book coming out, which we're going to talk about very soon. But welcome to the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Marina. It's so fun to see you again.
Yes.
So glad we met in Nashville. Yeah.
And you've lived such a full and amazing life, and obviously one that hasn't been perfect. And so I kind of want to get into that today of like, look like on the other side, you've been through it and you've raised these children. They're now on their own, independent. So tell me a quick, 5-minute version of your backstory and kind of how you got here.
Oh, yeah. So we have 3 kids. Their ages now are 22, 25, and 26. And my husband and I celebrated 29 years of marriage yesterday, actually. So, October 7th. So, I worked. And then when I had the first one, I was primarily a stay-home mom. So I did work. I did do some of the counseling. Coaching wasn't on the scene yet. I have my master's in counseling psychology. And so coaching came on the scene when my kids were getting a little older, and I went back to school to get a coaching certificate because I realized, wow, I love this. To me, coaching is all about what works, not what hasn't worked in the past. And I definitely think there's a very big place for counseling and therapy. It's just, I was very excited about coaching. So I went back to school to do that, but they were older at that time. The youngest was already in high school. Mm-hmm. And so I have had the opportunity to know, what it's like to be hands-on with those little kids with no outside help. When my husband, we lived in Silicon Valley. I'm from Silicon Valley before it was Silicon Valley. Wow. So I got to watch the tech boom. And so, my husband was taking several startup companies public, work, all those crazy hours that people in tech work. And that was when the kids were at their tiniest. I thought, this is backwards. We should be, when you need all this energy to be raising these kids should be when you are in more of a financial position to get some help. But I'm so grateful for it. Oh my gosh. I would not trade that for anything. That was just the most fulfilling. I write about that in the book too. Like I definitely had a lot of those moments, where I've spit up all over me or what have you. And I'm thinking, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this the best? And looking back, definitely yes. I'm so grateful that I, awesome. Stayed home with them. Yeah. But now what I'm doing, now I coach, and then I have just written my second book. So the first book is out. It's called Living All In, How to Show Up for the Life You Want. And it just has all my favorite coaching tools in it that are really helpful when I'm working with clients. I wanted all of that written down. Mm-hmm. And I took a chapter from that book and made it into a second book. And that one's called Grace Yourself, How to Show Up for the Sober Life You Want. Mm-hmm. There was one chapter on habits, addictions. And so this second book is about that.
Amazing. So you've obviously been through that personally, I'm assuming, to be able to.
I'm quick to say I'm not an addiction expert. I used to be addicted to alcohol when the kids were babies, and I got sober in 2007.
Amazing.
So the book is really more about sobriety and recovery. I'm not an expert at
Yeah.
addiction. I think I'm an expert at sobriety and recovery and
Hmm.
um yeah, so it is my story, and it's also my coaching tools. So it's still
Awesome.
a coaching book, and it's also, you will hear the whole story and how I struggled, and that did start when the kids were little.
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
an amazing way to be vulnerable and transparent in a world that everyone's just sharing highlight reels, and there's sometimes it's very ugly behind the scenes and under the
Mhm.
curtain, and so to be able to open it up, it just makes it relatable. And someone might be home in that phase right now, pick up your book and be like, man, I'm not the only one. Like obviously they probably put on a ton of guilt and shame during that season and trying to wrestle with it and feeling worthy and all these things. And I guarantee there is moms out there right now who can identify with that. So I'm excited to get that book into their hands. You mentioned a lot. What does it mean to show up for the life that you want? Like, how did you make that transition? What does that really mean to you?
To me, showing up is showing up when you don't want to, because sh sticking to your commitments.
Mm-hmm.
I did use this example in the book. It's like, since we're talking about being moms, if you bring the kid home from the hospital,
Yep.
there's going to be times you wish you could give the kid back or take a vacation, right? Or whatever, or just go in the bathroom with the door shut. um we commit, though, to raising that kid that day we had it.
Yep.
So that's the best example I could think of sticking to your commitments. And in the book, when I relate it to alcohol or any addiction or
Yeah.
habit, um I say, how I give tools for sticking to your commitment over your craving. Because
Mhm.
especially for us high achievers, it's easy to want, like, I actually want to work out in the morning. I want to feel good. I want to eat healthy. So it's not a struggle for me to do those things.
Mhm.
Some days it is, though. So it's like, what do you do? I talk in the book, but what do you do on those days, right? There's probably might be a lot of people who naturally don't want to partake in their harmful habit,
Mhm.
right? What do you do on the day that you do want to? And those are the days you have to show up,
Yeah.
and even when you don't want to. And so I give tools for that.
That's so good. And I think even just that topic alone could be a whole book in itself right there, because
Right.
especially this applies to business too. A
Hmm.
lot of us, like I'll just say, especially in the real estate industry right now, we are debating giving up because it's been a really, really slow year. So it's like, okay, I'm doing everything right, but nothing is working. We're not the problem. It's just the market is on a lull right now. And so there's so much mental debate that you go to every day of like, should I show up in my business or should I not? Should I like totally pivot here or start the side hustle or whatever? Like, it just is totally applicable. So that's super good.
Yeah. And
Now,
riding the wave. I mean, if everybody gave up on parenting
yeah,
during the teenage years, right? So in real
yeah.
estate, so much I do as my other business is property management and
Oh,
investment.
great.
So I
Yeah.
do understand all
Yeah.
of that. And I do understand the trends and how we have to
Mhm.
ride the wave through them and stick to our guns.
Yep, exactly. Hey, ladies, real quick, if you are looking for a mentor, I just wanted to remind you that I offer mentorship to entrepreneurs. So if you're someone who has a never ending to do list and you're spiraling out of control and feel like your business doesn't have a track plan, I want to work with you every single week for a month at a time. It's super simple, but I come from over 10 years of experience doing this myself, and now I'm willing to give that information back to people. So I've mentored real estate agents, I've mentored wedding photographers, I've mentored other business owners, and they've come from a place of overwhelm mostly, and they really just needed clarity and a couple of action steps to move the needle, and we've seen gigantic leaps and bounds in their business, like I can't even tell you. So if you're interested and you want to know what that looks like, I want you to go to marinatolentino.com, and there's a Calendly link there to do a 15-minute discovery call with me just to see if we're a good vibe check, to make sure we're on the same page, and I would love to work with you one-on-one to really boost your business to the next level. Let's dive back in. And now that you're in this adult phase of childhood and just being empty nester, I mean, I'm sure your time allocations have changed a little bit. You have more time to yourself. What does self-care look like for you in this season? How do you take care of it?
That's so good. I'm probably still learning the answer to that question, to be super honest with
Yeah.
you. So the youngest went away to college in 2020, and that was just a funny year for all of
Yeah,
us,
that was
right?
wild. Yeah.
Yeah, so my husband and I became empty nesters in 2020, and we decided to move. I've lived in California my whole life. In 2020, we decided, hey, let's move to another state. So we moved just kind of for fun, a new
Ah,
adventure. And we both worked from home. I already had my coaching business going. So we moved to Colorado part-time.
mm-hmm.
And which is beautiful and I love it. And we're not there full time. It's still part time.
Yeah.
However, I did not anticipate that. I don't think I processed that empty nesting thing as well as I see my peers doing,
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
because um I thought, well, I'm a life coach. My husband's very optimistic, very positive. We're both have this mindset. We're very growth oriented. We
Mm-hmm.
take challenges and we move through them. We show up, we keep going. So I just don't think we really sat with it. We just
Yeah.
thought, let's move and have more adventures and work harder. And I I tell a story about that in the book, how I had been sober for 14 years, and then in 2021 I thought, I don't think I really need to be sober. I don't think I have a problem with it. I think I just was numbing all this pressure that
Yeah.
was really difficult in life before, kids. And I don't want that to sound like I drink because I had kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the pressure I put on myself, mostly, of being a good mom, of being
Yeah.
perfect, of being a good daughter, of handling that family property business well, right? I put a lot of pressure on myself. So the book is really, I talk a lot about perfectionism, self-sabotage, how we navigate pressure.
Yeah.
That's really, and then where that led me was to numb with alcohol. But
Mm-hmm.
people can numb with anything,
Yeah.
even,
You can with
scrolling on their
TikTok.
phone.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And so the book will, I'm addressing all of it, but I do use my story of alcohol. So when I became an empty nester, yeah, I thought, I don't think I'm have a problem with this. I was just numbing, and now I'm out of the woods. I was holding everything together, and
Mhm.
now everything I held together is launched. And they're all, like civilized human beings
They're
doing
functioning.
well, and they're functioning in society.
Yeah.
And I thought, I think I can drink socially. And so that was a huge learning curve for me. And everything, it was like as if I forgot everything I'd learned in
Wow. Yeah.
recovery. And then, but and people that have this same struggle, will identify with this. But
Yeah.
immediately I knew, oh, this was a mistake. Yes, I've changed, I've evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol has not, though. It is
Interesting.
still the same thing.
Yeah.
And it still affects me the same. And it doesn't affect, I'm not anti-alcohol. It doesn't affect my husband that way. There's
Yep.
just some of us it affects different. So I make that discernment in the book, and so that's what happened to me in 2020 when we
Mhm.
became empty nesters. And now I'm back. I'm good. I'm in sobriety, loving my sober community. I'm big
Yeah.
on community and not doing it alone. But it also, because of that, my empty nester processing was a little delayed. So
Mm.
I feel like maybe just a year ago I started going, wow, okay, here's what that means.
Yeah.
And it's just different. I mean, yeah, I'm excited about it because it was a lot of work. And now you launch these humans into the world, and you enjoy the fruits of your labor. It's
Mhm.
wonderful. They all have significant others. Our youngest just got married to his
Yeah.
high school sweetheart, and we just love her. So I really
Yeah.
have, more than three kids. And there is all that. There's, also, I needed to think, what is my third act? What does self-care
Yeah.
look like now? And for me, it's to still cling to sobriety, to
Hmm.
be in my sober community. And then, some of the things didn't change. Like, I just there's certain things I need to do for self-care every day to function, like go on work out in the morning, do my prayer and meditation, those things. I get cranky if I don't do certain
Yeah.
things. So those things stayed the same.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing time to be sober right now. If I'm being honest, if we're talking about history and culture and everything, there's so many non-alcoholic drinks out there that are cool and hip. And like, have you seen that water brand? I'm like forgetting what it's called, but it looks like heavy
Death.
metal, like skulls and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's called death something.
Yes.
It's so
Death
great. I
water.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love like athletic brewing, their zero alcohol beers, like stuff like that. And it's like 10 years ago that didn't exist on the market, And I think America is definitely trying to gravitate towards health oriented. We recognize the situation that the big pharma and big foods put us in. But so much of what you're saying is so important about your sphere, right? The people around you too. Even just having come from Italy, everybody smokes. And like the most beautiful woman would bust out a vape pen and instantly I'm like, really? Like, you're gorgeous. Why are you smoking? But culturally, that's what's normal for them. And I'm so glad in America we have come away from that. Drinking is still lingering. We know it's basically poison for us, but we choose to do it anyways. I think most of us in our 30s start to feel how our bodies process alcohol differently too, anyways. And so you start to grow out of it a little bit. But so good. And I want to go back to the point you made about once you hit empty nester, you kind of like moved all of a sudden. And part of it was like a distraction, probably of like, well, let's just shift our attention instead of our kids. Now we can focus on us and do more and more and more. Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. And I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Work Like a Mother podcast. Real quick, I just want to remind you guys, if you are worried about missing an episode, you don't have to worry anymore because we are creating a weekly email that's going to go out automatically every single time there's a brand new episode. And this email is going to have everything you need to know about this week's featured guest. It's going to have all of the links and the resources that we're going to talk about in this episode. So you don't have to go around and fumble through the show notes, but it's going to be served in your inbox every single week. So if you guys want that access, be sure to click below one time in the show notes today, sign up for that email, and then you'll never have to worry about it in the future. And bonus, if you really love this, we'd love it if you share this with a friend. Give us a review on whatever platform you're listening to, and we'll continue to bring new episodes and new information that's going to help you level up your life every single week. I've noticed as a high achiever, I was addicted to chaos. And I don't know if you can identify with this, but I always have to feel busy and I cannot. And it took me a long time to figure out how to actually rest and do nothing. And it's such a gift. And as believers, we know like the Sabbath is a 10 commandment. And how many of us as Christians are actually doing that commandment? It's not an option. It's a commandment to take a whole day of rest. So I really had to learn and like, when I'm feeling those feelings of not being able to rest, like get down to the root of it. And usually it's insecurity. I'm feeling like I have to do more because I don't feel like enough. I'm feeling like I'm having to, perform and make more money because who am I if I don't achieve, like really trying to self-identify who am I? And I am perfectly fine the way that God made me, but it's all of these lies that we're constantly battling. And so I think once we can recognize that, what is it? It's a learned bad habit to feel like you have to be an achiever. And even identifying as high achievers, sometimes we can think that's like a trophy, but really I'm like, ooh, I've overcome that now. And I'm trying to be not a high achiever, but just enough to do what I need to do to reach my ceiling of success. First, you have to identify what that ceiling is. And then after that, we can relax and chill a little bit. It's not always more. Now I will say more on the money, but we can never have enough impact. And I think that's where you and I are in a phase of career right now is we just want to reach more people and help more people. We can never have enough. There's just so many women out there who need the guidance and the encouragement. So I'm so glad you're on the show today just to talk about some of those things. But do you have any feedback on any of that?
Oh, all of it. I agree with all of it. Yes, I know what it's like to be addicted to chaos. I also think that a lot of, one thing about that, let's stay on that. When you want to have a Sabbath or a rest or have rhythm, right? I listened to your podcast on balance and I love that there's a chapter or a section in my book called, not balance. Let's have rhythm instead of balance because balance for me can look like another form of perfectionism where you have to strike a perfect balance or you're going to be off. So in 2007, when I first got sober, and now remember that at that time I had 3 little kids and I was just running. That was the first thing I said to my new friends and my mentor was, I'm just bored. I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they explained to me that's what serenity is. And serenity is a big word in recovery, right?
Ooh, I like
We
that.
practice the serenity prayer. And so I get to help people with that now that are new in sobriety that look, it's not boredom, it's serenity, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think being a high achiever or a high growth person
Mm-hmm.
is great. I think being a perfectionist can be dangerous. I think achievers,
Yeah.
we keep going for what we want. A perfectionist will sabotage if we don't get what we want, right? But part of being a growth oriented achiever is planning, scheduling in the Sabbath and time to rest and margin and rhythm and
Mm-hmm.
scheduling time to if a friend calls and wants to have lunch or coffee, then you have time in your schedule, like leave the time so it's already there. So yeah, that's my feedback on that. I love it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love what you said about being
Positive
addicted to
margin is
things.
everything. So
Yep.
many of us, because we're achieving, striving, we have no space in our schedule for ourselves. It's just like more, book, book, book. And it's like, hold on, can we like breathe and like leave our desk for lunch for a second and
Right.
then eat without a screen or somebody else talking to us? Like it's just a lost art of quiet and slowness that I think we should totally bring back and make cool again because it's how humans have done it forever and only the last 20 years has really
Yeah.
changed.
Let's
So
do it. I'll be on a mission with you.
it's just crazy and us. Maybe we should do like a slow down challenge or something. I don't know.
I love that. Yeah, there are some Instagram accounts that I've found that are dedicated to that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's the
awesome.
mission. The mission's slowing down
The
and
mission is
unplugging.
less. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So good. That would be a good one for the holidays, actually, if you just did a 30-day one,
Uh-huh.
'cause the holidays typically get a little bit crazy. I want to kind of pivot into your journey as an author. So a lot of the women here are entrepreneurs listening in. Maybe they're multi-hyphenate like us, where they do multiple things. They know they have a book in them. Like that's me, for example. I know I have a book in me, but I don't know when I'm supposed to write it. And I don't really know how it's all going to evolve, the time capacity that it takes, etc. What does it really take to be an author in 2024? Can you kind of shed some light on that?
Well, actually, writing your manuscripts less, I've heard it's a third of the work. I would say it's even less than that. For
Just
me, and everybody's different. For me, I love writing. I have since I
hmm
was little. So that's the fun part. I'm even a nerd that loves editing. Like I love collaborating with the editor and tweaking little hyphens and things. That's fun. Some people don't like that. So kind of know what you like because you have to do all of it. An author has to do all of it. You don't just get to do the fun part. So
yeah,
after you write the book, you're going to have to sell the book and market the book and find a team to help you do that.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think that the actual nitty gritty of writing the book is, there's all kinds of programs or people that can help with that right now. Brand Builders is one of them. It's really good. They have a program called Captivating Content. It's super helpful because it's good to have an outline
yeah,
and know what you want. My personal way of doing it is to know, well, first and foremost, know who you're writing to. Know
sure.
exactly who, like if you were talking to one person, that's your reader, and have that person in mind the whole time you're writing. And then I like to put all the chapters. Here's all the chapters, and then I go back and make that my outline.
Yep.
And then I go back and fill those in,
hmm
right?
What amount of financial investment does it take to make a book? Can you do it for super cheap or like what's a average budget that you feel like someone is realistically should plan for?
I think realistically a low budget if you're going to self-publish, and even if you did get a traditional publisher and it's your first
Mhm.
book, you're going to want to invest in a good editor in order to get that book looked at. So I mean, I would say the low end is 30,000.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And I think that's a good benchmark for someone to kind of put mentally is like, okay, let's start stashing away so that I can take, and
Mhm.
that's probably not even accounting for the time as out from your regular day-to-day business. That's like a separate budget. So you've got to have time capacity as well as financial capacity to take on doing a book, which is interesting. Yeah.
That's right. Right.
And I know so much of it is building a platform, building an audience, right? You've got to have people to sell the book to. So, what are some of the parts of the process you didn't anticipate or that you wish more people understood?
Right. I didn't, well, the first one is where I learned all those things I didn't
Mhm.
understand because the first one I self-published, and I'm super happy with it. I wouldn't change anything because that's how I learned.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful editor. I became a much better writer by
Mhm.
writing that book with her. I mean, I had a manuscript when I started working with her, but we rewrote that manuscript together for a year.
Wow.
So, and this second one, I really just wrote it and there wasn't as much developmental edit that needed to be done after because I had learned so much from that first
Sure.
editor.
Hmm.
Uh, so can you remind me the question?
Yeah. Parts of the process you didn't anticipate or you wish more people understood.
Okay, what I didn't anticipate, and I wish more people understood, is that to before you launch the book, you want to sell pre-orders,
Hmm.
right? And so if you want to make some lists, it'll be good to be able to launch the book and on launch day say, hey, I came out as #1 on Amazon the day it launched, or
Yep.
as number, and there's all kinds of ways. I mean, really, bestseller lists have a lot to do with the algorithms and these
Mhm.
numbers than they do how good your book is,
Yep.
unfortunately. So, uh, I still think people should write really quality books because if I'm going to buy it, I would,
Yeah.
hope that they had a good editor and that it's worth my time.
Mhm.
But there are some not very good quality books that are making bestseller lists.
Yeah.
So if you partner with a team that understands that, brand builders understands that, there's a lot of um, teams that understand that. So there's certain things you can do. You can run promos like, and if you're just self-publishing, you're
Yeah.
probably going to be on Amazon. And so you'll want to run some ads so that you're on the Amazon bestseller list before you launch, like on launch day.
Yeah.
If you work with a publisher, either a hybrid publisher or a traditional publisher, you don't have to only publish on Amazon or through certain things. You can have better distribution.
Hmm.
So if every single like right now I have a publisher. So, but if every single person pre-ordered my book on Amazon, I won't make those bestseller lists. It needs to be a
Interesting.
variety of
Hmm.
Target, Barnes and Noble. So, and so it does pay to have a publisher who has a great distributor. Like my distributor is Simon and Schuster.
Hmm.
So that means my books can, there's many more places my book can be distributed and in brick and mortar stores than than when I self-published the first one.
Sure. Yeah. That's
Right.
interesting. And even just listening to the accelerator event that we went to, it's like you hear all the behind the scenes and it's like, actually, it only takes X amount of speaking gigs to sell X amount of books. And you're like, wait, you can be like on the bestseller list from just speaking. It's kind of crazy. Or reverse engineer if you want to raise your speaking prices, do the book first and da 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 da. And it's just so much behind the curtain that you don't hear as a everyday entrepreneur. And that's why it's so important to be in rooms with people who have done it before and are doing what you want to
Hmm.
do.
Right.
I'm just like a curious cat when it comes to all of that because it's like the next level of growth in business. So I love getting to see you go through it and the success that you're having. It's so fun.
Well, and someone like you who has an audience, you have your newsletter, you have people
Mhm.
subscribing, you are already serving a group of people. So when you write a book, you will get to tell those people, I wrote a book,
Yeah.
and they will want to buy your book. And then if you're speaking, you can be
Yeah.
selling that book. So if you sell those as pre-orders before the book launches, you'll make some lists.
Hmm. Yep.
I'm a little bit of unique situation because I'm truly an author I'm a writer. That's what I
Yeah.
like to do. I'm an author first with, you know, and
Yep.
now I wrote the book and now I'm trying to build the platform.
Yeah, but that's okay
So
because
it's
honestly,
all
the way that the internet is working right now, authenticity matters more than numbers, and you're going to connect with certain people in an
Mhm.
instant, which I do kind of want to go into the next question I have is like, okay, if I want to get this book out, this Grace Yourself book, and I know a couple of women in my life that are battling with sobriety, or even just any kind of addiction, how do you hand this book out to someone without feeling like judgmental or like, I know you have this problem, so here's the answer for you. Like,
Right. You need this.
how do you do that?
Well, you can always say what it meant to you. You could say, "Hey, this book really helped me look at maybe stay away from the alcohol thing if
Yeah.
that's, stay away from
Help
telling
pinpoint them.
people."
Yeah.
As a coach, we don't tell people what to do. We ask questions, right? We always want people to come up with their own solutions. So I would just stick to me. This book um, made an impact. I realized I was having some perfectionistic thinking and share how it helped you
Yeah.
and just say, yeah, wanted to pass it on in case it could be helpful.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. So after everyone's listened to this episode today, what's one thing you want a woman to do today? What's the action step?
Pre-order Grace Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do
Okay.
that. You can go to my website is chrisjansencoaching.com. I always keep that updated with where to connect with me and
Mm-hmm.
you can actually buy the book right on there. There's also graceyourselfbook.com
Okay.
is where you can go. You can buy one book, you can buy many books. And the fun thing is because I'm in the pre-order phase and I would love to sell pre-orders
Yeah.
so that we can get the word, spread the message and the impact really. So in order to do that, I've come up with some bonuses. So depending if you can buy 3 books, 10 books, 30 books, 50 books. And that way I have bonuses. Like I made a workbook. You could get in my Grace Yourself community, which is not another online sober group. That is really a place I feel like we need where people can come in. It's anonymous and I can help get you plugged into a community that will help you.
Awesome.
Some people don't know how to do that. I didn't know how to do that
Yeah.
in 2007. So I wanted to have that for people. So even buying one book, you'll have access to that. You'll have access to my master class. If you buy more than one, I can do a workshop for your group. I can host your book club with the workbook that I wrote for a book club. And then there is even a package where you can get one-on-one coaching with me.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So your site has it all. Say your site one more
So
time.
So the site's chrisjansencoaching.com.
Okay.
And where you can read about all those bundles I just said, all those bonuses is graceyourselfbook.com.
Amazing. Okay, we'll have all of that in the show notes so you don't have to go digging around looking for it. And every episode we wrap up with a fun rapid fire. So get ready.
Oh
What's
God.
your Starbucks order?
Oh, it's a triple tall almond milk latte kids temp.
Good stuff. I love it.
I'm such a wimp about the hot drinks.
I think that's the first one I've had say good stuff. That's awesome.
Oh.
What do you make for dinner if it's last minute?
Baked potato bar.
Ooh, that's a good one. I haven't thought of that. That's so easy.
Yeah. Well, you can
Uh,
microwave the potato first because it
yeah.
needs to be quick and then put it in the oven to crisp it up.
Ooh, I'm gonna try that. That's awesome. What's your favorite go-to department of Target? And do you have a favorite designer there?
Um, my favorite designer's in the household department. That's my
Mhm.
favorite department. So it's Threshold.
Yep, absolutely. Love it. And then name a book or a podcast you'd recommend to the show. Obviously, we've got your books, but do you have any other ones?
Oh, I love Leslie Logan, another BBGer. I was
Okay.
just a guest on her podcast. It's called Be It Till You See It, and
Hmm.
it's about overcoming self-doubt and having self-belief. She's a Pilates instructor, and her podcast is awesome. The guests have all kinds of gold nuggets to share with the audience.
Nice. I haven't heard of her. I'll look her up. That's awesome. TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Okay. And where can people find you online most?
My Instagram's Chris3Janssen.
Okay.
And LinkedIn is Chris Janssen Coaching. Facebook, Chris Janssen Coaching.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really just hope this inspires people to take action and to also just be that little light in your circle of people. Again, it just takes one conversation or one like hearing a grumble from a friend about their aunt or their mom or something to be able to help, honestly, that's the whole point. So I would love that people can share this mission, share the message, and just get your book out to people who need it, because that's what it's for. So thank you, Chris. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Marina. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.